Bronco fans and football fans everywhere. Welcome to Broncos Breakdown. This is Tuesday, February 15th, 2022. I am your host, Bronco Bill. Guys, I got a special guest tonight. He is from, well, I'll let him introduce himself, but I'm going to bring in Glenn Hauser. And Glenn, wonderful to see you. How you doing today?
Oh, thanks for having me. I'm excited to join you tonight. So,
absolutely.
You asked me to introduce myself. Lifelong Bronco fan. Grew up in Colorado. I live in New Hampshire now. Season ticket holder, actually, and favorite player of all time, Steve Watson. And I'm a member of the MHRT network. We just had our live show a few minutes ago, actually. So on Tuesday nights. So it's good to join you, and I'm glad you're part of the team.
Absolutely. Well, hey guys, out there, please tune in to MHRT Tuesdays, 4, 5, 6, and 7 Pacific, Mountain, Central, and Eastern Time live. You will see Glenn Hauser on there along with others. So please tune in on that. Great show. Great show. Glenn, how was your Valentine's, man?
Valentine's was great. We had BLTs, so we went all out.
Nice. Yeah, I kind of grilled up something. We had the gang over. Shouldn't say maybe the gang, but it wasn't everybody. Just son, daughter-in-law, grandkids, and brother-in-law, sister-in-law. I had a wonderful time. And that's going to bring me into my first topic tonight, the Super Bowl. Now, I have a problem with the refereeing of this game. Now, it was a great game. Don't get me wrong. Tremendous game. Final score 23-20 Rams. My problem is the last few minutes of the game. If the referees are going to swallow their whistle for 56 minutes of the game, how can you call ticky-tack plays that turn the game completely around? I have an issue with that. What do you think?
I can appreciate that. The one fly in the ointment, really, though, is the T. Higgins 75-yard touchdown pass seconds into the third quarter. Had that not happened, that I can understand. The Cincy fans certainly benefited from that play or that non-call, where Jalen Ramsey got literally spun around by his face mask.
Right.
It's hard to say. Well, maybe they kind of even themselves out a little bit. It is interesting that they did let them play, even letting them play. On that one where Burrow got shoved out of bounds legally, of course, by Aaron Donald, and then the offensive line. That's when they decided to start playing. They start shoving Donald and really kind of woke up the sleeping giant. But if you notice, there were no penalties. With that little melee. So the refs even let them interact in that fashion too. So. It's hard just because there was a major benefit with a touchdown. I can kind of overlook the some of the ticky-tack calls at the end there.
Well, let me go into another along the same topic. There are 2 fourth downs by Cincinnati, and Mixon was not in the game on either one of those 4th downs. I don't understand. He was averaging, I believe it was averaging, 3.5, 4.5 yards per carry, and they didn't have him on or in the game on 4th and 1. I don't understand that. I don't know if maybe he the coach outthinked his own game plan, but to me, I just don't understand why you wouldn't have the best running back on that team in the game.
That is surprising, even as a decoy. I mean, here's a guy that was not only having success on the ground, he threw a touchdown pass. He's the Rams running game was just disastrous. It was I think the Bengals defense played fantastically. But that is a little bit surprising that even just not even to have him in there. If you remember that Burrow had that 4th and 1 and they had 5 receivers. So they weren't even pretending that they were going to have someone in the backfield, and he ended up scampering and doing that. He hasn't mastered the slide yet. I don't know if you've noticed it.
yeah, that's true.
But
that's true.
Yeah, that's a good point. I hadn't really thought about that, but yeah, Mixon is someone that they have to pay attention to. And when you say that, it just kind of reminds me of when Terrell Davis couldn't see, and he had the he had the migraine and the first Super Bowl win for the Broncos, and they basically sent him out there and said, just give the impression that you're going to get the ball.
Exactly. So. And that was one of the reasons why I brought this up, because if you use him as a decoy and if you fake it to him, they're just going to be swarming in to get him. Then you just roll Burrows out to the right or maybe into the gap, the B gap or whatever. And all he's got to do is get 1 yard. And, it frustrated me because, I wanted the Bengals to win because I'm an AFC guy. Yeah. But I'm happy for Von Miller. I really am. And that's why I got the Von Miller jersey on today, just to kind of represent, Von Miller. Glad to see he won 2 rings. I wish it would only been with Denver, but it wasn't. That takes me to Von Miller's top, which is, do you realize that Von Miller became the first NFL player in history, Super Bowl history, to have multiple sacks with 2 different teams. The Broncos in Super Bowl 50, and then the Rams, of course, Super Bowl 56. Becomes the first player to ever do that. My question to you is Von Miller a first ballot Hall of Fame on the merit that he's already accomplished in his young career in the NFL?
I think he has. But we talked about it a little bit on the show previous to this, and the fact that Demarcus Ware wasn't a first ballot Hall of Famer, when I thought that was an absolute slam dunk with his. I mean, I thought he was a first ballot Hall of Famer before he even signed with the Broncos. Just his Cowboys career, to me, felt like it was substantial enough that he would get that call. So there's a chance that they're that picky, but I can't imagine 5 years after Von retired to get the knock on the door. And especially since he's not shown any signs of being interested in retirement. He's only going to pad those statistics a little bit more. I mean, he was injured when the Rams first got him. He had a little bit of a slow start, and then he had nine sacks in the remainder of the regular season and in the postseason for them. You mentioned that he had multiple sacks in 2 Super Bowls for 2 different teams. He now actually is tied for the all-time lead in Super Bowl sacks at 4.5 sacks in a bowl game, and he did that in 2 games. And oh my gosh, I'm having a total. Charles Haley had it in 5 games, so it's like, hats off to Von. I had entered that game, and it was the first time I can ever remember with the Super Bowl that I didn't really have a preference who won. It wasn't that I was indifferent. It was like, Joe Burrow was probably my favorite non-Bronco. I just love the guy. He did slide down a little notch when I saw his suit with that whatever Forest Ranger hat he was wearing.
Right. Yeah.
I'm kidding, but and then for the Rams, not only the Von factor, but the fact that Matthew Stafford was in Detroit for 12 years, didn't stand a chance there, still put up great numbers, toughed it out. He always had this reputation of being injured all the time. And if you actually look at the number of games he played, it's not an accurate depiction of his Detroit career. But so I just went in there thinking, whatever happens. And as the game was going on, I found myself really hoping for the Bengals. So I was in the same boat as you. And I don't know what shifted for me, but it was probably the fact that they've never won a Super Bowl. They've had some heartbreakers, including losing that last minute one against the Niners 30 years ago. And the same thing just happened to them again. So they're really snake bit. If the Super Bowl were 59 minutes, the Bengals would be multiple champions, I would think. So,
exactly. And to the point of Von Miller, there's a lot of talk that he lost a lot of his drive or his production in Denver, but that's because, in my opinion, when Demarcus Ware was on the other side constantly, I mean, Demarcus Ware didn't get injured that often. And you had Von Miller and Demarcus Ware teaming almost every game. And when Bradley Chubb would be injured, then you saw that Von Miller was getting double teamed and he couldn't be as productive. He goes to the Rams. he's got Aaron Donald on the other side and another Super Bowl. So to me, it's Von Miller plays his best when he has, and it's not assistant, but when he has, like a co-star, and that's because you can't double team both of them. You just can't do that. So hats off to Von Miller. Glad you got the Super Bowl. Hope you come back to Denver because now you're a free agent. So let's hope he comes back. But then again, if he does come back, I hope we get an edge rusher that can not accommodate, but be there to take some of the pressure off of him.
Leave it to a guy in Southern California to use the term co-star, right? So but I think you've completely described that perfectly. Vaughn people were wondering why is he not playing well this year? And he was playing well this year. I mean, like, our record was not great, but our defense was. And he had a ton of double teams. And if he had that other player that could either be the double teamer or the teamee, I guess, or just share the load, it would have been a lot better. And the fact that Aaron Donald was there, I mean, that guy is a guy, now that's a first ballot Hall of Famer. That's not even a discussion to be had. And, it's, you're 100% right. So there's talk that Vaughn, people want Vaughn to come back. Tim Patrick is tweeting, he'll come back. I don't know if I see it happening. I had read that he, in the Sports Illustrated article right after the trade, that he put up his house for sale immediately. And it kind of surprised me. He had lived there for the whole time he was with the Broncos. He had this incredible nightclub in the basement, so the players wouldn't get in trouble. They could just come over to his house to Club 58. The fact that he put it up so quickly, when I'm assuming he didn't need the money, to find a a place. He's not crashing on a couch at Bronco Bill's house, but it's really cool. That would have been neat. But I don't know. What do you think? What do you think? Do you think what would you lay the odds of, or the possibility of him coming back to the Broncos?
Well, I did read where he said that he's always a Denver Bronco. He will always be a Denver Bronco. That's his first love, so to speak. And I don't know. The reason why I say I don't know is because when Von Miller was here, you have to go back to the Gary Kubiak days, and you have to go back to that offense and that scheme. Now Denver kind of has that again with Clint Kubiak. But there's a new head coach again, new offensive coordinator, basically new coaching staff except for two. I don't know. I don't think he would come back at a hometown discount. I don't think he would come back if Drew Lock is the quarterback, and I'll get into that a little bit later.
I agree with you.
But I think he has, in order for him, in my opinion, for him to come back to Denver, it has to be not only on his terms, but if he feels that he can get another Super Bowl, make it 3, and then go out on top. I'm not sure that that's going to be the Bronco forte this coming season. I think it's a work in progress, and I'm not sure that Bill Miller's willing to go through another 2 or 3 years of futility.
And it's tough because, he has said all the right things. George Payton, by name, he calls him George Payton. He says that he put him in a great spot. He took care of him. He could have sent him anywhere, and he didn't. And, I'm always going to be a Denver Bronco, and Denver's my home, or whatever, all those things that he said. And then you would think that he'd say it once, and then we would never hear it again. But he's continued his entire stay, including through the Super Bowl, to say that. And he was saying it at media day at the Super Bowl. So I don't know if it sends mixed messages, if he's throwing the line in the water, trying to see if Peyton will bite, but it'll be interesting, but I 1,000,000% agree with you that he's not going to come back unless we have a superstar quarterback, because if nothing's changed, what's the point of going back?
Exactly. And I find it interesting that McManus was there. I don't know if you saw that.
I saw that, yeah.
But McManus was there to congratulate him. And on the back of his helmet, he was the only one on both Super Bowl teams that wore the number 88 circle. I thought that was awesome.
Yeah, they let the NFL let him put that on, and I think he's the only NFL player that's not a Denver Bronco that was allowed to have the 88. And I don't know if you know the relationship with him and McManus, but I mean, he's the godfather to McManus's twins. So
really?
They are super tight. So it was no surprise to see him there, but it was interesting to see the guys from, unfortunately, our glory days 7 years ago.
Yeah. Now, do you think McManus, speaking of McManus, do you think he could somehow pull him back into Denver and say, hey, this is what we got going. I got the inside stuff of, the coaches, and I've talked to the player. I mean, I know there's a lot of players that are just totally excited. I watched an interview with Justin Simmons prior to the Super Bowl, and he said he's ecstatic to have Hackett as a coach and to just be able to work and go forward in this process. So it seems to me that there's a collective agreement that this team, these players are excited about the upcoming season. And I feel the same way. I'm totally excited. I'm just not excited about who we may have as quarterback.
I know. So I don't know if you watch the Behind the Broncos videos that Broncos media puts out, and they're phenomenal. I mean, my hat is off to the people that work for the team and put these amazing videos back. And they had the behind the scenes of the hiring of Hackett. They were even at his house. They're in his garage, and he's like Carrot Top, in these meetings. He's like pulling like props out of his, like, oh, I've got the gold suit and this, and then he's going through his vinyl collection, which is so cool. And they showed him FaceTiming with Justin Simmons before they actually got to meet face to face, and it was when Hackett had gotten announced, and I got chills, man. It was so cool because, I mentioned Steve Watson in the opening, but my current Bronco, you can see him right over my left shoulder, is Simmons. I think the absolute world of him as a football player, as a person. I mean, I just absolutely just have the utmost respect for him, and it's smart of Hackett to want to meet with him right off the bat. And, he's like, when are you going to be here? When are you available to come and see me? And it was just a really cool FaceTime interaction. And I can see why the players would be excited. They're going to get a defensive coordinator that, knows the Fangio scheme. People can badmouth Vic all they want, but here's a guy whose defense is a known winner, and it's one of those that is extremely popular throughout the NFL right now. And I mean, just ask the Los Angeles Chargers if they hired a defensive coordinator that runs the Fangio scheme. So I'm excited for this staff too. The inexperience doesn't scare me. The fact that I have to research some of these guys, because I've never heard of them before, which is cool. Boggins from our show, he talked about how they're actually bringing on what he called accountability coaches, which I thought was a great term. Keeping a Bill Kolar, bringing in a Dom Capers, having some of these other guys that Hackett's brought in. That it's you may have these young guys, but you'll have the ones with the a lot of experience still in the room that everybody can tap into for their comments.
Oh, I totally agree. And then that's going to take me right into the new coaches that we have. I want to get your opinion on some of these coaches. Now,
okay.
It says that here it says in this article I got, and this comes from flipping through these pages. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
It's correct. This comes from Mike Kliss of 9 News. And Mike Kliss says that this is one of the youngest coaching staffs of inexperience in the entire NFL. Now, that being said, Hackett is taking a page right out of his former head coach in Green Bay. And he said that what works there is what he wants to bring to Denver. So let me run over some of these new coaches.
Okay.
The ones that they replaced, and you tell me better or worse. Okay. So offense, Justin Alton, Pat Shurmur.
I mean, I think I'm better than Pat Shurmur. So I don't know.
Well, I think we all.
I don't know
That
much.
was the easy one. I wanted to give you an easy one right off the bat.
Exactly. So I got to go with Justin, and I don't know if you saw the video or any of the pictures of Outen and Hackett at the Nuggets game recently
Yes,
together.
I did. They're both drinking big, tall ones.
They're drinking beers. Someone gave them these Nuggets hoodies. They still have the tags, so they're taking the tags off each other's hoodie. I mean, it's just like, all right, these are my best buddy. You know.
Yeah.
I thought,
go ahead.
The main problem with Shurmur, and I mean, even the guys on Ben Albright and Ryan Edwards on Broncos Country Tonight, they were talking about how Shurmur was the most loathed person in that building by everybody. That to me, that tells, when you say everybody, I'm thinking like the people in the lunchroom, the janitorial staff, the maintenance team, not just the players, right? So this is a guy that basically said, "This is my scheme. You run it," and there was no wiggle room and no compromise. And guess what? There was no result with the young talent and weapons that we had. I mean, Teddy Bridgewater was, whether people wanted to admit it or not, he's a good, serviceable quarterback. He could have thrown a little bit more to those wide receivers had these plays been called, and they weren't. And Shurmur wouldn't budge, and he's stubborn. And a change was needed a long time ago, and I'm excited to see what Hackett's right hand man can do. So
absolutely, my whole look at this whole thing is we're talking old school, like you mentioned, not willing to budge because that's what worked back then. It's not going to work now. It doesn't work now. We have younger guys, coming into the coaching ranks. We just saw that in McVay. He's 36 years old. We saw that in McVay in the Rams. We see it with the Chargers. We see it with the Buffalo Bills. We see it across the league. You have to be innovative. You have to be creative. And if you're not going to budge, the defense it's like they have your playbook. And that's what I love about this coaching staff.
Yeah.
And the main reason I love it is Hackett said, and let me find that real quick. It says right here, it says with the exception of Zach Anon,
Azami.
There you go. Thanks.
Wide receiver coach, yeah.
And Christian Parker, it says all of our older, highly experienced, and dare we say, more set in their ways, top assistants from Vic Fangio's coaching staff have all been let go. That's the reason, because they're old school and it doesn't work.
You know what's interesting though, Bill, is like, so Vic had some very old school beliefs, and I like Vic. Okay. I
Great defense.
But he'd say stuff like, he'd want these hard practices in training camp, and he would suggest that the more you got hit, the better your body could take it. It would get calloused. He would use that term, which is absolutely just absurd. And I'm not a doctor, but physiologically, that's just not the case. But I don't for 1 minute think he was so stubborn he wouldn't change up things. And we saw that. We saw how he approached different teams and how he would move guys around and how he would give different jobs to some of the talent. So he did not have the same approach as Shurmur. And, which is interesting because he's, probably 10 years older than Shurmur. So he probably shouldn't have allowed that. He probably should have told, put his foot down and said, we need to do this. And, unfortunately that when Shurmur got COVID and Shula came in, and we were all hoping that here's his time to shine and show that he could handle the job, and let's get rid of Pat. Like, he laid the biggest egg of the season.
Yeah.
So it's like,
exactly.
He left the team no choice but to ride this loser for the rest of the season. So
yeah, well, that's why we hired Clint Kubiak and over over Mike Shula.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that was a great move. How about Butch Berry over Mike Munchak?
Well, that's tough. I mean, honestly, I did not know much about Barry before he was brought in, as opposed to Munchak. But I think if you're going to change things, you change things, and
Mm-hmm.
if they're going to run a different scheme, a Shanahan type of scheme, you got to bring a guy in that teaches those offensive linemen that type of a scheme. And if you think of the Broncos heyday, when Mike was our coach, our linemen were not huge. They were very mobile. You have to be able to move around, but still be highly effective. And I think you have to make that change, as hard as it is. I think Munchak would have stayed on if the opportunity was given to him. But if you're committing to a scheme, you got to bring not only players that work in that, you got to bring coaches that do as well.
I agree. This next one bothers me.
Okay.
It bothers me greatly because of what this person did for three key players.
Mm-hmm.
Tyrone Wheatley replaces Curtis Modkins,
Mm-hmm.
and Modkins goes to the Vikings, where he's just going to make Cook that much better. Bothers me because of what he did with Lindsey, what he did with Gordon, and what he's done with Williams. Now Williams looks like he may be thrusted in as the front and center running back with a brand new running back coach. That bothers me.
Well, I think that was the one probably that most surprised me as far as the departures, because I didn't quite understand why, but then you see that Hackett has coached with Wheatley at 3 or 4 different stops. So there's that relationship there as well. But for me, Modkins going to Minnesota opens up a very big possibility that Melvin Gordon could end up there, because
Sure.
Dalvin Cook is not the most durable running back. Top talent, top 5 fantasy pick generally,
Yeah.
but they're going to need another running back, and who knows if they decide to pay Melvin a little bit more than the Broncos would. I, for one, hope the Broncos can get Melvin back. He wants to stay. I think we can probably get him. I mean, I think you offer him 2 years for $8 million, maybe $8 million guaranteed, or if you guarantee the whole, perhaps he'll do it for 4, which would be half of what he had. It's his 3rd contract of his career, but I don't know. But the Modkins one I'm open-minded to Wheatley, but the Modkins one did surprise me a little bit.
Yeah, I agree. But on the heels of that, if Gordon is gone,
Mm-hmm.
and Williams is the premier running back, who's going to back him up? I mean, of any substantial success on our team or elsewhere.
We have Mike Boone, right? So we didn't get a chance to see him too much. He was injured early. The guy is just built, though. And then when you look at his highlights when he was with the Vikings, he is a very good athlete. So I think that he could be the guy. And obviously at that point they would have to draft somebody, right? Free agent signings with running backs is a little bit tough because, when you're signing a free agent, you're signing somebody that has a little tread on the tires already, or off the tires. So that's always a crapshoot.
Right. All right. I'm going to swing to the defense coordinators. Now, coming off a Super Bowl championship, we now replace Ed Donatel, who also goes to Minnesota. We replace him with Ivero.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think? Is that a trade-off? Or is that an upside?
Well, I'm excited to see what Evero can do. He's again, tight with Hackett. I believe one of them was the best man at the other one's wedding, from what I understand. Okay. Here he is coming off of a Super Bowl championship team. He had a team with the Rams that not only had a stud lineman, a stud edge rusher, and top 3 cornerback in the NFL in Ramsey. I'm excited about this. Donatel, I liked Ed again. He was Vic's right-hand guy. He has an interesting path to Minnesota too. He was hired by the Seahawks, and he did the dipsy doodle and ended up taking a coordinator position with the Vikings. So, I wish him well.
Mm-hmm.
I think he'll be successful there. And, but again, you can't miss the playoffs for 6 straight years and not blow the thing up on the coaching side, because we're not going to blow it up on the player side because we don't have to. We have the players, but the window is closing. It's sure, and we haven't even had the opportunity to open it.
Right. And with Evero coming over to Denver, he basically has the same type of players that the Rams had this past season.
Right.
I mean, we have edge rushers. I mean, yeah, we need to maybe upgrade that, but we have a solid secondary. We have a solid linebacker core. And basically all he has to do is come in and tweak a little things, maybe get a couple of good draft choices, and we could be right there, just like the Rams were. Rams did something this year they hadn't done in 20 some odd years, and that is get back to the Super Bowl.
Right.
So Denver's only 6 years removed. So
actually, no, the Rams were in. McVay was a coach. They played the Patriots. And
that's right. I should have said since they won one. Yeah. Won one. Okay, let's go to what's that? Go ahead.
Kurt Warner was the quarterback at that point.
That's right. St. Louis, no doubt. St. Louis. Okay, the last two is Marcus Dixon, defensive line, to replace Collier, but Collier becomes the consultant. So that's a good move. So we didn't lose Collier. We actually just elevated him to a more accountable position.
Right. I love the word accountable. That doesn't mean he's going to come in like a bull in a china shop, but it's, when a guy comes in and has, Bill Kollar has 33 years in the NFL. I mean, he has to know something, right? And he's got the players love him. So I'm glad they kept him on as a consultant. He's going to be there every day, I'm sure, and he's going to have impact. So I like that.
Exactly. And then speaking of consultant, the other one was brought in is a senior defensive consultant in Dom Capers.
Yeah.
I know Dom Capers has a lot of experience in the NFL, and I'm really excited to have him on the staff because I really feel he's going to hold people accountable, which I don't think we had in the last three years.
Yeah. I hadn't thought about it until now, but you can almost kind of compare Dom Capers to Vic Fangio in the sense that, if you think about their head coaching career, it's lackluster. It's okay. It's, nothing to get excited about. It's like, how did this guy get another job? But when you think about them from a defensive standpoint, it's like, damn, the Dom Capers defense is great. The Vic Fangio defense is awesome. So to, again, have that type of veteran leadership, and that's the kind of stuff that's Hackett is going to even be able to draw from, even though it's on the defensive side, it's a great variety of people from college, from pros, from different ages. We had experienced, seasoned coaches, and something didn't work last year. So, or the year before that. So I am going into this season very, very open-minded, but you've mentioned it a few times tonight. It's all depends on who's taking the snap from the center.
Yep. And right now I'm going to get into this segment. I want you to join me on this segment. I call it the Jackass of the Week.
Okay.
And this week's Jackass of the Week is the Hall of Fame Selection Committee. We touched on this a little bit earlier, but let me give you a few comparisons to Demarcus Ware, who did not get in on his first opportunity, but Richard Seymour did. Now, both players played 12 seasons. Demarcus Ware played 178 games, Seymour 164. Total sacks, Ware 138, Seymour 57 and a half. Tackles, solo tackles, Ware 459, 326. Total tackles, Ware 612, Seymour 498. Tackle assist is the only one that Seymour is better or got more of. Seymour had 172, Demarcus Ware 153. I'm going to ask you one simple question. Why is Demarcus Ware not in the Hall of Fame and Seymour is?
Well, I think, Seymour did play a different type of position than Ware. This wasn't his first time up for induction, by the way. So he has been told no quite a few times. But, I think the fact that he was a defensive lineman, that you don't expect him to have the type of sacks that a Ware would have. He also was with the Patriots when they first started their dynasty. So he has a few Super Bowls under his belt. I actually expected Seymour to be in the Hall of Fame prior to this point. It just, some of the ones that really stood out for me that maybe when you think of who shouldn't have been in, or maybe should have waited a little bit, perhaps longer, is like, I don't get the Leroy Butler,
I agree.
He invented the Lambeau leap. Other than that, I'm just not, and I've been a football fan forever. I'm just not remembering where, when we're talking about cornerbacks in the NFL, that he was even in the top 3 ever when he was running, and maybe I'm wrong, but I don't get that one.
Could it be a Patriot thing because the Patriots are the Patriots? Could it be a snub against the Broncos because there's tremendous Bronco players that are not in the Hall of Fame? Yeah. Go back to the Orange Crush and all that.
I don't think it has anything to do with the Broncos. I don't think it has to. I don't think they picked Seymour over Ware. I think it just so happened he finally made it. It's like Tony Baselli. Tony had been a finalist for a long time. He finally made it. And he probably deserved to be in there. I know a lot of people, aside from Ware, the other one that people are most upset about is Devin Hester. And I don't know if I was as on board about him being a first ballot Hall of Famer, but I mean, here's a guy that changed the entire. I don't think we'll ever see a player dominate special teams and change the course of a game quite like a Devin Hester. But he didn't get in, and the momentum was on his side as far as being a first ballot guy. And so when's he going to get his opportunity?
Right.
It's tough. The fact that Randy Gradishar isn't in there still burns my, because.
Yep.
When they had the Centennial class and all those guys they just expanded the class to, I got up super early that day because I was convinced I was going to finally, I think I had my Randy Gradishar jersey on. It was like before my work, like going to work. And, and to see him not get it, it just, I don't understand it. A lot of Broncos have gotten in recent years, which is great. But the further you get away from the Orange Crush and I think Rod Smith is somebody that should be seriously considered. Why does he fall short?
Well, how is Dick Vermeil in the Hall of Fame and Mike Shanahan's not?
I know.
I mean, I that's what I'm saying. To me, and I know I'm biased because I'm a huge Bronco fan. I've been a Bronco fan since 1976, and I just don't understand why the Broncos are snubbed time and time again. Look how long it took for Terrell Davis to get in.
Yeah.
It's uncanny to me how there are not more Bronco fans in the Hall of Fame, especially Mike Shanahan. He absolutely deserves it. Absolutely.
Yeah. The Vermeil one was a surprise to me also. I mean, he's been to the Super Bowl a couple times. He lost his first one in 1980 against the Raiders. And then he won with the Rams. And I think a lot of it has to do with that he's just a good guy. You know, that people like him. He was a great broadcaster for college, for pro. Maybe that has a lot to do with it. I'm not saying that Mike Shanahan's not a great guy, but I think that maybe the Vermeil deal has the fact that he's well liked has something to do with it, because I don't necessarily see with him as a Hall of Famer, as a one-time Super Bowl champion.
True. All right, I'm going to switch off of that segment, and I'm going to go into the last topic. We talked about quarterbacks a little bit earlier, who could come to Denver, who may not. There's a lot of speculation that Rodgers may stay in Green Bay. He may end up retiring. He bought a house or whatever in Tennessee. Russell Wilson may stay in Seattle. So that means to me, what if Drew Lock stays? Now, here's what Mike Kliss, again, of News 9 said, and I quote, Hackett has said that the Hackett's offense promises to bring out the best in Drew Lock. Does that mean that Drew Lock is staying with Denver? And if so, how much more can we stand from Drew Lock?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if we've seen his best. I have no clue, but I just know that he's streaky and he just doesn't seem to grasp the offense. But with the new coaching staff,
right,
is it possible, in your opinion, that Drew Lock could be elevated and be that guy that we all hoped he would be?
I guess, like, to go the easy way out, anything's possible, I've never seen anything like it. You mentioned you've been a Bronco fan since '76. I started watching in 1977, which was spoiler alert, that was a good year to start watching the Broncos. Exactly. But I've never seen any sort of divisiveness amongst Bronco country, like the whole Teddy Bridgewater, Drew Lock thing. I mean, people just started going after Teddy for no reason. I mean, the guy's like considered one of the most decent people in the entire NFL. Everybody cares for him. Mm-hmm. And he was just taking grenades left and right. To get the answer to your question, as far as I'm concerned, is I don't know if you can teach judgment. It's and I got to tell you, I've got a Drew Lock jersey hanging over there. Okay, I've wanted this guy to be the guy. I think he's fun. I think he's energetic. When he's on, it's exciting. The problem is you never know when he's going to be on. Mm-hmm. And that's the thing. It's people make a lot of excuses for him. They say, well, they got rid of Scangarello. Well, Scangarello was like the most boring conservative play caller. When Vic Fangio has to step in and say, we're not taking a knee to end this game. Mm-hmm. We're going for it. That's kind of problematic. It should be the opposite thing, right? The defensive coordinator, the defensive head coach should be saying that. And the reports were that it was like you weren't even trying to develop a quarterback. You were also trying to develop an offensive coordinator. So that just wasn't going to work. So that's why they brought a Shermer in, a guy with experience. And they thought, he could do his thing. Well, the problem is he doesn't budge. He doesn't change his plays to match the skills of the player. And did that hurt Drew? Probably to some degree. Is that responsible for him throwing one interception after another, that season? I don't think you can blame Pat Shermer for that. I mean, 4 interceptions against the Raiders. That's like what Aaron Rodgers had in a season. I mean, it's, just, I don't know, but there's a huge possibility. And if he is a quarterback, I'm certainly going to cheer for him. And, but there is a very distinct possibility that if things don't fall into place as a lot of our us fans trying to get a veteran quarterback hope they will, that game 1 starters is number 3 himself, Drew Lock.
I agree. And the reason why I brought that up is simply for this. I believe if we don't get a veteran quarterback like a Rodgers or a Wilson, I believe that there is going to be a different look to Drew Lock. He looked a lot better the last 3 games. He didn't throw interceptions. He didn't turn the ball over. I feel that if we have to go in that direction, that he's going to maybe just toe the line, so to speak. Maybe create some aggressive play calling or, to his strengths. But I totally have to agree with you. We need a good quality quarterback that can lead this franchise, especially with this coaching staff, going into not only this coming year, but years down the road. And I'm a firm believer of that. So my hope is that Drew Lock can at least toe the line if that's the case, and we just go out and get a veteran quarterback. Who would you like to see? If we can't get a Rodgers or Wilson, who would you like to see?
Oof. Just going back to Lock one second for a minute.
Sure.
We have been, as a fan base, we've been reduced to like just trying to get any positive out of anything. It doesn't seem that way especially if you go on Twitter. But Drew Lock, last 3 games, boy, he played great. He didn't turn the ball over. Like we were 0-3. Like we're complimenting on somebody about not making a mistake.
Good point.
We're praising somebody for doing what they're supposed to do, right?
Good point.
As far as who else, I don't know. Bree was on with us earlier tonight, and the same thing. She's like, you had the Kirk Cousins, the Carson Wentz's, the Matt Ryans. They're just not exciting. They're blah. And she was talking about flavor, and I said, well, what 3 flavors are those guys? Vanilla, French vanilla, and vanilla bean. Like they're a
variation of the same thing.
Exactly. And I don't know. Mike has thrown out there, Mundungus has thrown out there about, Marcus Mariota. Like, maybe he's the guy. But I think we just need to stop pussyfooting around and just. Who cares about these draft picks? Like, who cares about a couple players? Like, get a guy in here. These teams need to shed. They not only need to shed salary, they need to get draft capital, especially Seattle. And, just throw something crazy out there. That's what we're missing. That's the main thing we're missing. We won't stand a chance otherwise. So let's quit fooling around. And I think I trust George that that's what he's building towards. I don't care, quite honestly, with the quarterback situation. I don't care if he's irresponsible. The Rams have given up all these picks, and what have they given up? The 32nd pick, the 64th pick, right? They've given up nothing.
Right.
We're giving up the 9th pick. Big difference.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, I totally agree. Glenn, it's been a pleasure. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on. Any topic another variation of whatever we talked about, you want to bring that up?
No, I love the Jackass opening, by the way, and thank you for letting me babble on and on. I appreciate it.
Hey, that's what this is all about. That's what it's all about. I want to get your opinion and what you think, and I'm just so glad and honored that you wanted to come on. I really appreciate it. So awesome. one last time before we head out, go ahead and say when you're on and the different shows. Go ahead and plug that, and then we'll go out.
All right. So we have MHRT. It's on Tuesday nights, 7 Eastern, 6, 5, and 4. And Bronco Bill has his show on Wednesdays. And then we have the Nothing Rhymes with Orange and Blue podcast with Johnny and Isaiah on Thursday night, 7 Eastern. 6, 5, and 4 as well. So, the network is growing, which is exciting. We had our neighborhood show that was the pregame show for the games, which obviously is on hiatus with the season off. But Isaiah Henderson from Nothing Rhymes is going to be doing a show about prospects, and it's called Rough Draft. So that's going to be coming up soon. So there's a lot of activity. We appreciate, all the listeners. Most of our shows are live, which is fun because we're getting instant questions and comments and jokes and interactions. So, it's going well, and just excited to be part of it. It's a lot of fun.
I totally agree. Guys out there, watch my show on Tuesdays. I post it on Tuesdays on YouTube. It's under Broncos Breakdown, hosted by me, Bronco Bill. So check that out. It's posted every Tuesday. Also, like Glenn said, Wednesdays, it's uploaded to MHRT Network, 4 Pacific, 5 Mountain, 6 Central, 7 Eastern. Once again, thanks a lot, Glenn. Really appreciate it. And I'll be watching on Tuesday like I always do. Take care. Guys, thanks a lot. That's all I got. Thanks a lot for watching. Thanks for subscribing. We will talk to you next week. Have a wonderful, wonderful rest of the week, and we'll talk to you then. Take care. Bye-bye.